Penguin Random House Australia Audio proudly presents My Father the Murderer, written by Nina Young and Denise Young, narrated by Annabel Harte and Natalie Saleeba, all rights reserved. To every woman, man or child who has found themselves the victim of violence. Part 1. Out of the Darkness. Introduction. Back to the Future. Nina. It's an unusual feeling to be interviewed about your darkest secret. Unusual, but also freeing. For many years, I tried my hardest to stop the world from knowing about where I came from and how I came to be. But in 2018, I conquered my fears. I stood up and told my story in a 6-part podcast series called My Father the Murderer. I didn't know what the response would be, whether my fears would come true and the world would shun me. I didn't know if my mother would find herself shamed and her life choices scrutinized, or if I would be living with the stigma of violence and death attached to my name for the rest of my life. There was no way of knowing before I hit publish on that audio, uploading it for the world to hear, if this was going to be the worst decision I'd ever made. But I did it anyway. I did it because when we share our stories, we not only lift the burden of a secret off ourselves, we help carry that load for other people as well. I wanted to share my story for every child born into a situation they didn't choose, but which would forever mark them. I wanted women to know that choosing to be with a violent man does not mean you take on the responsibility for what he's done and what he does and will do. I didn't tell my story for attention, fame, or success. Outing myself to the world was terrifying. I created the podcast because I had questions that I desperately needed answered, and I wanted to work through that discovery in a way that would help others. But the podcast didn't answer everything. I never even found out what my father's life was like now, what kind of man he'd become and what he thought of my story. Plus, after the final episode was published and the media circus died down in late 2018, I was still feeling conflicted and...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?